Happy first day of fall! In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make this beautiful pumpkin spice latte cake inspired by the iconic drink, and I'll show you what makes it indeed a pumpkin spice latte as opposed to a pumpkin spice cake. We're going to fill it and decorate it with an espresso meringue buttercream. I'm Kat, owner of Charmin Chic Baking, and welcome to my channel. There's quite a few ingredients that go into this cake, but trust me, it's well worth it. Start by combining all your dry ingredients in a medium-sized bowl, and I always like to whisk it. Then in the bowl of your stand mixer, combine the eggs, brown sugar, and white sugar. Then mix this on medium speed until light and fluffy. Once your mixture is pale and fluffy, add in the melted margarine. Now I'm using margarine instead of oil because I do want this cake to be a little bit firmer and I don't want the butter notes to come through, and also butter's pretty expensive. Next, add in your vanilla extract, and then your pumpkin puree. I'm adding canned pumpkin puree without any spices, so this is just pure pumpkin puree from Edie Smith, but you can also make your own pumpkin puree using the smaller pumpkins. Then I'm going to gradually add in the flour mixture and alternate it with the buttermilk. So I'm adding about 3 scoops here of the flour mixture and waiting until it's all combined. Once all combined, add in 1/3 of your buttermilk. Now I made my own buttermilk with 1 tablespoon of vinegar and then topped it off with the milk to 3/4 cup. Then continue again with the flour mixture and buttermilk. This creaming process just makes the cake a little bit lighter and fluffier, but again, it will be a denser cake than normal because it needs to be firm enough to hold in the latte soak that we'll be adding in at the end. Make sure to scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl before continuing to mix. Now I always weigh my batter instead of measuring it by volume to ensure that the layers are even. And you want to ensure that the bottoms and side are lightly greased with some cake goop, and I'll put that in the description below, and I always line the bottoms with parchment paper. So this will give you about 625 grams per layer of 8-inch cakes, and if you want to make a smaller cake, like a 6-inch, then just divide the recipe in half, and you can make 3 layers of a 6-inch cake. Alternatively, you can put this into a 9 by 13-inch rectangular pan. So as you can see, I'm starting with about 590 grams of each, but then I do end up having 625 grams per layer. Then spread the batter evenly towards the edges and always line the bottom with parchment paper. And while the cakes are baking, we are going to make our latte soap. I will add to the description below. Freshly brewed espresso, and give it a little tap to ensure there's no bubbles, and some vanilla extract. So I'm adding the evaporated milk to a measuring cup, and I have 3 small cups of espresso, which is actually 3 ounces. To that, I'm going to add the vanilla extract and my own pumpkin spice blend, and I'll put that into the description below as well. This should give you 2 cups of latte soak that we're going to divide evenly between the 3 layers. Now give this a good mix, and you'll notice that the pumpkin spice blend doesn't really mix well, but that's okay because we're going to continually stir it as we pour it into our cakes afterwards. Alright, so the cakes have baked, and now we're going to puncture some holes in them, and this is going to help the latte absorb into the cakes. Now I'm not taking these out of the pans, I'm actually going to pour the mixture directly into the pans while they're still warm, and yes, they will eventually release, and I'll explain how later. But for now, puncture as many holes as you can with a toothpick, as opposed to a fork, because the forks will give bigger holes. So we want just tiny little holes in our cakes, and I'm puncturing all the way to the very bottom. And sorry, my head just got stuck in the way there. Okay, so once the cakes have absorbed all the soak, which I forgot to show how to pour it in, but trust me, it is there. You just want to divide the soak evenly into the 3 pans. We're going to wrap these in saran wrap, and I'm pressing the saran wrap directly onto the cakes because they need to go into the fridge for about 2 to 4 hours, and then into the freezer for another 2 to 4 hours so that they can release easily. So we don't want any condensation on the tops of the cakes. That's why I'm pressing the saran wrap directly on top. And once they have chilled and frozen for a little bit, you're going to take a butter knife or spatula, and you're going to run it along the edges and just lifting slightly underneath to help release. Remember, there is parchment paper on the bottom, so they should come out pretty well after they've been chilling for 4 hours. And this is exactly how they come out. There's no cuts or any bruises or any indentations. They actually released pretty easily, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm not going to even bother to trim the tops. I'm just going to keep them the way. I'm using my Italian meringue buttercream recipe that I will post in the description below as well for the link on how to make it from scratch. So what I'm going to do is take about a couple of tablespoons, and we're going to melt that before adding the espresso. This is an instant espresso from Nescafe. It'll just make it dissolve a little bit easier. And I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of the powdered instant espresso to the melted meringue. So we're going to add that espresso meringue to the rest of the Italian meringue buttercream, and for this 3-layered 8-inch cake, I have 600 grams total of Italian meringue. This will be enough to fill and frost the cake. If you're making a smaller cake, like a 6-inch, then you can use about half, so 300 grams. Now, if you want a stronger espresso flavor, you can add an extra teaspoon, but I want to keep it nice and light, and also for the color, because it will give a nice light caramel color to the cake. Right, so we're going to start to decorate the cake by adding the meringue to the piping bag fitted with just a coupler. And I'm going to pipe concentric circles, and this is going to help give even layers to the cake so that you don't need a spatula and try to determine how much you need in each layer. Total weight is about 150 grams per layer, and then we're going to use the rest to frost the cake. Then we're going to add the next layer and repeat the process. We're going to press firmly on top of the first layer and just fix it on the sides to make sure that it's even. Again, piping in concentric circles, starting from the edges, working towards the middle. Now for the final layer, we're going to actually place it upside down so that you get the nice, smooth, even edges on top. Again, press firmly and fix it on the sides. And remember, it's always easier to decorate the cake while it's still cold so that the meringue doesn't spill over on the edges. This meringue buttercream is really light and fluffy, and it won't crust over like the typical American meringue buttercream, which is made of icing sugar. So always start with the top, and then we're going to bring that meringue down to the sides. And I'm going to just give this a really rough decoration. I want it to be really rustic. So I'm going to just do some light concentric circles on the top and using my spatula to decorate the sides. And I've made these little tiny fondant pumpkins. I use a toothpick for the grooves, and then I brushed with a little bit of brown color on the edges. The tops are also fondant as well as the leaves. And this is the completed Pumpkin Spice Latte Cake. I added a couple of cinnamon sticks on top and some crushed Biscoff cookies at the bottom. I actually donated this cake to charity, so I hope the winner really likes it. This would make a beautiful dessert for Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for more fall desserts. Happy baking!